Well, speaking of killing people, I remember after
you won't see that on The View.
after the election and the inauguration, when we were all sort of coming to terms with how funny the next 4 years are going to be,
And what a good job
and
we
what a
did
good job,
electing
yeah.
him.
How excited we all are. I think I forget when it was, but one of the things we said is like, one of the things we have to look forward to, at least, is Trump having to address the nation after some national tragedy. What's he going to say after the inevitable mass shootings that happen on his watch? And there's been a couple, but I think with this most recent mass shooting, we've really seen him truly come in to his own in terms of the way in which he tries to process other people's pain and human emotion, or just, I don't know, empathy on any level.
Yeah, it's fun because most politicians are stone sociopaths, but because they're professional politicians, they spend a lifetime figuring out how to manifest empathy to other people so that they build the mask so that people can be like, that guy believes me. But because he came up in the predatory nightmare realms of real estate and television, never built those skills. So he's just pure unmasked sociopathy.
Yes.
Total lack of ability to empathize with anyone other than himself.
Right.
But then he has to still say something, and then what you get is this just nightmare gibberish.
So I have a few examples prepared of the golden comedy material. So I mean, the first and probably best known one now is, I'm just going to read here from the news account of it. It says, President Donald Trump suggested Monday that he would have run into the high school in Parkland, Florida during the mass shooting, even if I didn't have a weapon. The president made those remarks ahead of a meeting with the state governors, referencing reports that an armed sheriff's deputy waited outside for minutes as a gunman opened fire within the Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14th. You know, I really believe, you don't know it until you test it. I'm glad he added that caveat. But I really believe I'd run in there, even if I didn't have a weapon. And I think most of the people in this room would have done that too, because I know most of you. But the way they performed was really a disgrace. So I've noticed now that like Trump and then much of the sort of gun cult right wing has latched on to the figure of this sheriff's deputy who didn't do his job, or he was armed and he didn't save the kids. He didn't run into a hail of gunfire or whatever. And obviously you can critique his performance there, but like what I think is interesting about this is he is the scapegoat for everyone who like Trump, and I would say the majority of people who support him, who spend most of their time fantasizing about saving people from a bad guy with a gun.
For having what they most fantasize about is, my God, can't there be a scenario where I am completely justified in taking out my gun and just spraying when will that find? And what they also fear, and why they're latching onto this guy, is because they know the minute they hear the stuff popping off, they're going to freeze and not do anything. So he represents their greatest fantasy and their greatest fear.
Exactly.
That sheriff's deputy.
Yeah. That's why he's going to be torn apart by them, and he's going to become the villain of all this because he has to suffer for as you said, what they know about themselves.
He refutes their entire fucking worldview because the good guy with the gun is going to save you, and here was a good guy with a gun, and he didn't act like he was an action movie because we don't live in a fucking action movie.
Right. It doesn't go that way.
And they can't process that.
Yeah. My dad served 3 tours in Vietnam. He carried an M16. He goes, when you heard machine gun fire, you froze and took cover. And he had a machine gun and grenades. But you still go, hang on, what the hell is happening? You don't go rushing in like John Rambo. Everyone freezes and gets down, and then you wait and figure out the situation. This guy has a single handgun, and he's hearing basically automatic gunfire from doesn't know where it's coming from. What's he going to do?
It is, I'd say about a good third of the country spends a lot of their time, if you spend any time on sort of middle American, Midwest Facebook, people's favorite things is images of, the Grim Reaper holding 2 handguns.
Yes.
It was, some text over it that's do whatever the fuck you want to me, but you even say a word about my family, I'll murder you. Or just, posting on local news stories about, just something like a robbery and being if they ever tried that with me, I'd fucking murder them. Just fantasizing about situations where they could, become John Wick. People who just have never done anything except yell a racial slur from a closed car. And yeah, Trump is, when he said, I am your voice, that was the most powerful thing he ever said. Because that is true. He is the voice of those people.
He actually
Like,
is. He's the guy. I would go into my God. Even if they would put bullets in me, I would come at them while I was dying, and then they would. It was just these creepy. I belong to a shooting range in Burbank. I go and I shoot handguns. I don't own any guns, but I go and shoot them. I want to be proficient with them. Handguns, you have to wear ear protection because they're terrifying, and they'll deafen you. I don't think people understand, and loud noises, not even guns, are what they use to control crowds and sieges because it fucks with your nervous system. And they think they're going to hear a machine gun from 10 feet away, and their first instinct is to, slap leather and go running it. No, you freeze up and you don't do anything.
They've been training.
And all these guys would.
They've been training their eardrums by listening to Hinder and Trapped. but like I usually hate this thing, like Obama had no scandals, blah blah blah. But like, can you fucking imagine if Obama said this?
I would have gone in there. I would have taken him out.
Would have taken him out. Yeah. If you can, the other thing that's really interesting about how he's responding to this gun massacre is also at his core, Trump wants to be with whatever the popular alpha group is, whatever the group that is. That's why he runs to these rallies. Yeah, but he wants to be where people are worshiping him. And now the teens of America, the youth of America, that's where the future is. That's who decides the fashion, the culture, and everything. They are the most popular thing, and he cannot connect with them at all. That's why when he was the other thing too, when he was talking about how I would have run in there and I would have stopped it even if I didn't have a weapon. Notice how he couldn't mention the people that did run in there and without a weapon and either got shot or blocked the door because he can't acknowledge anyone outside of it. He's got to go, and I would be even better than them, and everyone will flock to me. I mean, there was an issue. There was an interview with Tim. From Shawshank Redemption.
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins. He goes, back in the 90s, I was having some party, not even a huge party, like for some friends, and suddenly there's this guy there. I didn't know who he was, and it was Donald Trump, and he was just trying to get his picture with me because at the time, like Tim and that circle of friends, there was a time when they were the hottest people in Hollywood, and they were having a party in New York, and Trump's like, drive me over there and get my picture. Like he just wants where, and now these teens are just to his face going, you suck, old man, fucking go die. And he doesn't understand, why don't they think I'm the most cool thing on the planet?
Apparently, he called one of them in her hospital room.
I have this. This is from the New York
is
Times.
Fantastic.
This is probably the best one of the clips I have prepared. But it says here, reading from the New York Times, it says, Mr. Trump has said he believes that understanding and channeling the nation's grief is a strong suit for him as president, assuring a reporter
100%.
during his campaign that empathy will be one of the strongest things about Trump. But interactions with some of those involved in the Parkland shooting have not been as successful as those during the White House session. Samantha Fuentes, who was shot in both legs during the Parkland assault, said she had felt no reassurance during a phone call from the president to her hospital room last week. He said he heard that I was a big fan of his.
That's how we started the conversation.
Yeah.
The first thing is, first off, you think I'm awesome before we even start, right?
And then he said, I'm a big fan of yours too. I'm pretty sure he made that up, she said in an interview after being discharged from the hospital. Talking to the president, I've never been so unimpressed by a person in my life. He didn't make me feel better in the slightest.
And then you mentioned the oh boy thing?
Yeah. Ms. Fuentes, who was left with a piece of shrapnel lodged behind her right eye, said Mr. Trump had called the gunman a sick puppy and said, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, like 7 times.
Would not want to be the gunman right now.
Oh boy.
And I'm just, again, imagine you're pouring your heart out to this idiot and you're like, and he was my best friend and we knew each other since kindergarten and then he was just dead in front of me and then Trump going, yikes.
Good luck with all that.
Yahtzee, you have my condolences.
Thanks for sharing. TMI.
I'm kind of sick of Jennifer Lawrence. Are you? You're still talking.
Did you There was a church shooting where a guy wrestled the gun away from the shooter, and then when the police broke in, they shot the guy holding the gun.
That happened the
Killed
same
him.
day.
Same day.
Yeah, as in Parkland.
I mean, I just you're talking about Trump comforting people in times of sorrow and terror, but when you turn 100, don't you get a call from the president?
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking of these people that are about to turn 100, and they're like, "Oh, this is the president when I turn 100." Like, what's that call going to be like?
Oh, they probably love it.
him.
I mean, they probably love it.
Wait a minute. What am I thinking? Yeah, wait.
It's the guy from TV.
Yeah. They're happy.
It's like, I'm 100 years old. I can't believe I have to talk to a racist, stupid guy. I never liked anyone like that in my life. Wasn't all the people I looked up to when I was a child.
Although, how must it feel then to be getting the congressional, what is it, like the Mark Twain Prize or
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
like that?
No, those
Kennedy
ones
Center
that'll
honor.
stink.
Kennedy Center,
That shit stings.
suck.
Yeah.
Who has he gone to those? He knows not to.
No,
go
he
to
didn't
that.
go to the last one. I don't know about this year. In his first year, he didn't go to the Kennedy Center Honors, and he didn't go to the White House Correspondents' Center. But
'Cause
apparently, he is going to go to this year's, which makes me think, who the fuck are they going to get to do the hosting of that?
Yeah, who will host that?
Because it's going to have to not only be somebody ideologically amenable, but also someone who won't actually own him in the speech. Because
Right now,
not take that.
somewhere, Lobot style, Crowder's eyes just opened. His head just went up. I'm being summoned.
It's either Crowder or Dan Nanan becomes the youngest ever host of the White House.
Be the
Correspondents'
youngest
Center.
ever. Oh my God, that's right. A millennial. Get some millennials in there.
Yeah. That's how you reach out to
a
the
weird.
Nanan's going to go up there and be like, Mr. President, I know the teens have been hard on you recently, but I'm here to let you know that some teenagers still stand with you.
Some teenagers, some ashy-skinned, lizard-necked, huge bags under their eyes teens like me. Yeah. Oh, God.
I think it's Gallagher's time to shine.
Oh, yes.
Gallagher's very right wing.
Very.
He
Oh, yeah,
smashes a watermelon that says Black Lives Matter on it.
It would be cool if there are press members there who are like too young to know who Gallagher is, and they're like, "Wow, this really surprised me. There's some like very conceptual performance art
He's
here.
doing
Trump
alt
is a more
comedy.
cultured guy than I thought."
I'm going to write a think piece about why we have a pair of panties but only one bra. Like, he really made me think. Like, why do we have that? Why do we drive on a parkway but park in a driveway?
Yeah,
Like, there's a whole...
Yeah, Jordan Peterson really ripped off Gallagher's entire thing.
Jordan Peterson. Who did you say he sounded like?
Well,
Kermit
a bunch
or-
of people, but one of them was Professor Frank from China, Illinois, and the
Mm-hmm.
Professor Brothers. Dying Kermit the Frog from Canada.
Marvin the Martian.
Oh yeah, that my yes, exactly that.
Pew misandry eliminator.
Speaking of alphas.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Back to school security. Of course, since we obviously can't restrict the sale or use of firearms in this country.
Oh my God, no.
The thing we have to do now, we have to do something, and the thing that at least Trump is the idea of arming teachers, right? This is going to be our solution: is to arm teachers. And one of the this is just an interesting way. This was one of my favorite things he said recently, but it's sort of indicative of the way his mind works. I'm just going to read here. It says, President Donald Trump on Thursday insisted that White House Chief of Staff John Kelly could personally stop any school shooting if he were a teacher armed with a gun. At a roundtable discussion about school violence, Trump noted Kelly was a 4-star general and a, quote, tough cookie. If he was a teacher, I would...
And by the way, a tough cookie does cancel out a sick puppy. If you've ever played that game, that is how that works.
If he was a teacher, I wouldn't mind him having a gun, the president said, because I guarantee you he can use it better than anybody. There's not security guard that you're going to hire that's going to handle a gun better than him. So if he's a teacher and other friends of his from the Marines are teaching or other people like that, you want to give them a gun. But almost more importantly, nobody's going to attack that school, he continued, because they know General Kelly is the history teacher.
The 70-year-old man who sits down all day. John
Yeah.
Kelly.
Because they know General Kelly's a history teacher. He's teaching about how we win wars, okay? And he's got a concealed weapon. But they're going to know he's got a concealed weapon because we will tell them that the bullets are going to be flying in the other direction.
So that the key is to get 4-star Marine generals and former DHS secretaries to just be history teachers in America.
In public schools.
Get
First,
famous.
his
Get Elvin
tone-
York in every school.
His tone talking about General Kelly, he sounds like a cheerleader talking about her quarterback boyfriend.
Oh God!
Oh my God! If you want to make sure when they give him the ball, forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just have the whole district try to defend him. He's going to run right through. He's huge.
Yeah.
That guy. But also, he also keeps saying, "I didn't say arm all the teachers. Just a couple of them." So, in order to stop the shit, though, the guy would have to go into the specific classroom where the armed teacher is. Because he's talking about this will stop them from ever happening.
Yeah.
But all you got to do if you're that's
No, but he would see them coming and just quit
how
them.
would he?
Because they're
goes to the
superheroes.
Marine vision.
It's almost like we live in a country where half of the fucking art, half of the popular culture is depictions of hyper competent violence.
Yes.
Carried out with ease by people. And then you watch that and you're like, yeah, that's how it goes. Everyone, it's like a guy with a gun is John Wick, not just a guy with a gun.
Oh,
and we can't process the difference. I mean, that's the thing. We are so dissociated from reality. Like Midwesterners, my people, pride themselves on values like being humble and soft-spoken, their ability to sniff out a phony, and they worship this flouncing New York fancy lad who can only say his own name.
Right.
And they can't see the phoniness to him. They can't see him, this gelatinous cube of ego, and go, oh, if a guy had a gun, he would just shit himself. He would dissolve into a puddle.
Yeah, exactly.
He would be like fucking Greg Stilson in the dead zone and grab one of the kids and put it in front of him.
Yeah, the striped tiger.
If you can't recognize that, if you can't look at him and know that immediately,
the blue
then
tiger,
your
man.
entire, not only... You don't even have the values that you convinced yourself you do. Like, you don't even really like the things you think you like. You only like the idea of liking those things. What you really have is cultural grievance, and you worship anyone who will exemplify it and punish the people you don't like.
But if we just get a teachers in there and with Klebold sense and sense it coming, get those guns out and start. Well, look, I am all for. I don't know how to broach this. I am very, very much for free speech. Say whatever you want, blah blah blah. But I do have the. Is this the best timing for this speech right now? I don't know if you've been watching the trailer for the Death Wish remake that's coming out with Bruce Willis. Again, I love Eli Roth. I think he's a terrific filmmaker. Is that the best film to be putting out right now, where in the just the trailer alone, it's a family being gunned down and Bruce Willis's voice going, "You got it. It's up to a man to protect what he's got, or he doesn't deserve to have it." And then there's a hot blonde girl with big boobs going, "You're locked and loaded and ready to rock and roll," and he's sexily pulling out his shotgun, and then he's walking around. Bruce Willis is wearing a hoodie and gunning down African-American drug dealers. You're just like, how many massacres is it? Like, again, I don't want to be the guy going, you're not allowed to, because now they're all, because I don't think that violent video games but holy fuck, there is such a thing as bad timing or bad. Okay, another Bruce Willis film came out right after the Oklahoma bombing was the remake of Day of the Jackal.
Yeah.
And one of the trailers is close up of a hands building a bomb. He's building like this killing machine, and and the voiceover was, "In his own way, he's an artist, and this will be his masterpiece." And I was like, is this maybe not now? Could we not get the idea that people that do this shit are artists making masterpiece? Like, it's just that weird.
That's the final level of sandwich artist.
Oh, it is, really? That's the final level?
Yeah.
That would be cool. Get that voiceover and put it over like a guy making a Subway sandwich. In his own way.
Yeah, the only way that they could redeem that Death Wish movie is the actual film is just showing him either being hilariously incompetent or at the end of day a psychopath. Who's
or someone pointed
it.
out to me, what if they remade Death Wish, but instead of killing drug dealers, you went out and started killing bankers? Or people that are like, what would that happen if you did that movie?
Yeah.
Because I just reread John Garfield's original book, and it's about how becoming a vigilante destroys this guy inside.
Yeah.
It kills his soul. And if you watch the original
movie
Charles
makes,
Bronson also touches on that. It touches on the fact that it's beginning to drive him crazy, and it's all about they're in this weird moral, but it's not about celebrating killing people.
In the original Death Wish, which is sort of like Death Wish and Dirty Harry is like the sort of great reactionary film cycles.
Yes.
The original films are like more, they're sort of fascist in their ideology, but they're more complicated than the latter films would have you believe.
Yes.
Like in Death Wish 3, when he just has a Browning machine gun just mowing down a neighborhood in the Bronx.
My friend Wildy's coming. Yeah, Wildy. Like, and now at that point, he's fetishizing having guns. He is a psychopath.
In the original Death Wish, though, when Bronson first goes out and it's just he has like a sock filled with quarters.
Yeah.
Like, he attacks like a guy or something. He comes home and throws up immediately.
Yeah.
Because,
It almost
and then by
kills
the
him.
end, he's like, basically driven himself insane.
Yeah, it's a story about a guy becoming cool.
there's many reasons that Trump is the inevitable product of America. Like we looking back, maybe only in retrospect, he is inevitable. You can see the vectors, and one of the ways of that is that it seems, in culturally, we very much are stuck in that 70s, 80s crime paranoia when the crime was legitimately high, the highest it was in the 20th century.
Yeah.
And it's collapsed. Crime has collapsed in the 30 years since then. But we are all culturally keyed into this hysteria about crime, and having Trump as president perfectly exemplifies that, because he is not. Somebody said he has not absorbed a new piece of information since maybe 1989.
Right.
Like he is set in that.
That's where he
that
is.
Bernie Getz
Height of-
era.
yes. One of the yes, there's a silver lining in Trump being president in that it has sparked way more activism and way more people going, let's look at how our government works, even on a state level, county level. It all matters. Every piece matters. But one of the reasons that you elect a president, a governor, a mayor, whatever, is to get a lot of stuff off your plate so that you can go live a life and run a business and raise a family. And we have elected a president who has all but said, it's all on you guys. I'm not showing up. Houston, Puerto Rico, school shootings, I'm not showing up for this stuff. You have to handle everything.
Or even worse, I am going to ruin any dialogue about changing anything by just proposing the most insane, idiotic ideas that we then all have to talk about. We have to take anything he says seriously. When he says arm the shop teachers, we can't say, okay, very nice, Grandpa, go back, go back, watch your stories, have some Farina. No, we have to all talk for 2 weeks about, well, maybe we should arm the shop teachers. Really? What do you
then
think?
Wolf Blitzer has to host a panel of people that are all happy to be there because it's money in their pocket to get to appear on TV.
Yeah.
But you're right, it just gums everything up, and it's this, wow, you're right, he's created this recurring lower income class problem cycle, and we can't move forward on anything.
I hope someone takes this out of context and they're like, oh, you're saying Trump is bad because he makes everyone act like poor people?
I can't wait.
But I do think
have at it, Daily Wire.
I
my
do
name
think
right.
that people talked about how apparently he's running around yelling that they need to execute drug dealers all the time now behind closed doors. And I mean, the Supreme Court has said you can't do that, so it's not like he can actually do anything about it.
They're always getting in the way.
But his obsession with that's the 80s shit.
Yeah.
That's like Pablo Escobar shit. It's like we need to unleash James Bond. We need to send him after Robert Davi. We need to restore his license to kill. His friend got eaten by a shark. It's awful.
Trump watched a version of Sicario that Jared recut to be 15 minutes, but he still saw it and he thought like, oh, this is a story about a cool man who does cool things. Sicario is actually Spanish for cool man. We need to get Benicio del Toro out there. He took a firm line with those children.
It shows how you can change. He was a bad guy in License to Kill, and now he's killing the bad guys.
Those children, they were sick puppies. They
were sick puppies.
They had to go, folks.
Well, if you talk about like the degeneration of America into this paranoid state, you go back and watch the first Rambo film, First Blood. There's one death in the whole movie.
The guy fell off a cliff.
And it's an accident, and Rambo then grabs the policeman and goes, I didn't want that. You idiots caused this to happen.
Yeah.
I was just trying to shuttle this down. Then by the second one, he's just the bubonic plague, basically. If we could just send one guy
It really
to
is the
Vietnam.
Reagan turn, man. I mean,
That
like,
was the
Death Wish
Reagan
and Rambo, written in the 70s, written in the Hal Ashby reflective post-Vietnam, what's going on 70s. And then they were all made into movies in the Reagan drill a hole in your frontal cortex, lather yourself with baby oil, and bomb Grenada 80s.
Right.
That's funny because First Blood falls into that same thing with Dirty Harry and Death Wish, that like the latter films color your idea of what the movie is. Because like rewatching First Blood now, the incredible thing is they couldn't make a movie now that portrays cops as badly as First Blood does.
Exactly.
Who are like portrayed universally as incompetent, sadists
Right.
or just cowards
Yeah,
entirely.
exactly. Yeah.
And, like the whole thing is just because they're like hassling him because he's walking through their town.
Yeah, he's literally doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it is weird. That's really, oh boy, yeah, that's really really creepy. That's where we're going.
We're stuck in the
so then-
decade where the last time a oafish celebrity became president.
Yeah, but you were also saying that like this is one of those times where you can't like after George W. Bush. Okay, I can imagine the next thing that the pendulum swing back would be. Obama. Okay, well, it as awful as things are now, you can understand why the pendulum swung back because there were all these people that were paranoid about a black president. But one of you said, I cannot imagine what is after this.
Me.
What
I still don't know.
is after this?
I don't know. It's a cultural teleology, and it comes to an end, and this is the end.
Yeah.
And that's scary. You also say it's going to be unrecognizable. I kind of feel.
Right.
To me, the most perverse thing that could happen, the most like genuinely gross thing that could happen is if we elect a sensible technocratic Democrat and then try to pretend that it never happened. And I kind of worry that's what's going to happen. We're going to try to paper over the rupture, and then that will only leave us completely unprepared for the final actual rent
Tom Cotton.
The last guy. It's a little. Oh God, I'm feeling a little paranoid right now because at Christmas time I invited you guys to a party, launch party for the show.
I have
Happy.
to do E1. Everyone
that's right.
E1.
You weren't there.
We were there. It was delightful.
You guys were there, and you met Brian Taylor, who did the Crank films. I've never seen you guys turn into One Direction fans. When I immediately said who you were talking to, you're like, oh my God!
Crank 2 is a modern masterpiece.
It is, but what happens if Trump or the next Trump, his worldview is based on something like Crank? Is the next thing where
my heart can't stop.
We got to just keep going. And what if that's his worldview? Because Brian Taylor Neville was the step after, Dirty Harry, Rambo, all that stuff.
Yes.
So then what happens?
I'm not sure, but I'd like to, as long as we're talking 80s action movies, I would like to pitch my version of the Death Wish remake that just focuses on Jeff Goldblum's character and about how he like cleaned up his act after being a rapist street thug and now is just like a Wall Street guy. And he's just like...
Also, wait a minute. That's another thing about Death Wish. The three guys who destroy his life and make him into a vigilante in that film are never brought to justice.
Nope.
He never finds them. There's no closure in that. He just starts killing other random people.
Yeah, that's the thing that the studio would say, okay, that's not going to
He's
work.
got to find him again.
The end has to be him killing the guy who killed his wife.
Right.
And
they're never even mentioned again.
Jeff
He
Goldblum-
never even mentions going after them.
No.
Jeff Goldblum wearing a Jughead hat in that scene.
Well, that was the weird. Yeah, because again, I love when Hollywood, an older producer or whomever is doing the movie tries to grab on what the youth what the scary youth looks like and what their idea. In Death Wish 3, the guy with the reverse mohawk. What's scarier than a guy with a mohawk? Well, a mohawk isn't scary anymore. I don't care. We got to do a reverse thing.
And he's going to be a solid 45 years old. He's going to look like he quit his job as an accountant to put on a leather jacket and ravage South Bronx.
It like the thing now in movies and TV shows is like if they'll show like a black criminal, they're dressed like G Unit, which no one is dressed like in like 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, put a Band-Aid on his face like that gangster rapper Nelly.